Welcome to another episode of Exteriors by Gary Whillock. This little roof area behind us, unfortunately, is a problematic roof and has been a long time, and it's been let go a little too long. There's going to be a lot of rotting that we have to do on the actual structure. We're going to rebuild the structure part, and this should be the last time that needs to be done. We're going to get a proper flashing into the wall, into the mortar, into the brick. And this should not be deteriorating any longer. The problem that we see so often are shortcuts taken by roofers that come on and slap some metal on, don't properly flash it, don't solder to the corners. All of these things create shortcuts or short life for the roof itself. We're going to eliminate that at this project today, and we're going to be beginning. This is actually going to be a one-man project. One of our key people, Luis Lopez, is going to be doing the rework on this. It will take him a couple of days. This is not a real quick thing. You're talking about a curved flashing that goes up and over the roof. You're talking about miters that are all going to have to be soldered, various corners, and you're talking about replacing some wood that we're going to try to figure out the best wood possible to make it make sense. But the biggest thing, the most key important ingredient in this is you've got to protect the wood from the water. So we're going to be talking about that, and I'll be filming this throughout the process on the next couple of days, today and tomorrow. And then we'll show you the finished product with the trees not hiding what we're talking about. Now here you can actually see dramatically how this one's been leaking up in this corner. It is rotted away. You actually see paint or maybe wood delaminating right there. And of course it has created this terrible stain down the brick. Hopefully that will clean up. And you can see how shoddy of job it is. You can actually see right up between the metal. The metal was not bent over. And I understand that. The guys don't know how to do, in so many cases, they don't know how to do a curved panel. And this really needed a curved drip edge as part of the panel itself. You just cannot do like they've done here, and we see this kind of shortcut all the time. And right here you see that water is catching on this lower part right here and running it down below. So we've got to find a way to bring the top out more and get the drip away so it's not dripping on the inner parts. We want to be able to show off this beautiful entry as the entrance and focal point of this very traditional looking house. So we're going to be working on this today. Now we actually started, as you can tell, yesterday, and we've taken this apart, and I'm going to insert some of those clips so you can actually see why we were taking it apart. The roof was installed very poorly. They used a flat sheet of metal, partially spot welded it at the corners to the trim that went down over and the flashing that went down up behind, and then they caulked that to the brick. That never works. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now behind me here, you're going to see on the ground this actual flashing and cap that was used before, and this is absolutely crazy, but we see this over and over and over on wonderful homes. And as you can see, this is a nice looking home, and there's really no reason to build it poorly. You're only talking about an extra day and a half of work that would actually quadruple the life of this roof. It would take it from deteriorating, starting at about 7-8 years, and dealing with that, repainting, trying to keep it covered up, and just not looking good, to the point that it would actually last 70 or 80 years. And it makes no sense to me that people don't want to spend the extra time, the extra energy, and a little bit of money to get it right. And that's what we really like to do, is get it right. Okay, what I was talking about earlier is you can see that this outside piece has been added onto a flat piece that goes up and over. Now they're relying on caulk here, which obviously hasn't worked. They're relying on caulk there, which you can actually see down behind the caulk right there, and dramatically open up at the top. There's a good chance that whatever we find under here And of course, it's not fastened down. Okay, well, you know, that is not fastened down, so yeah, there's probably been squirrels in there. It's going to be interesting to see what we find. Hopefully it's a little more solid than it looks. This obviously has become a big sponge. This was some sort of, literally a sponge. You can see water, nasty water coming out on my hand. And this is some sort of pressed board. Not a good place for any kind of pressed board to be sticking out the outside. I can't believe people do that. Now this is part of the aluminum post. That's good. So we're really talking about this piece and the fascia, and this portion right in here is going to be needing to be replaced. So this time around, instead of just exposing wood, and of course they had pressed wood, which never lasts, and you can see how the deterioration just made a mess on the wall. You can also see how everything was just caulked and painted to the wall. We're going to be installing a flashing around there and cleaning that up. A flashing that actually goes into the mortar. If you don't do that, you're inevitably going to have a leak, because mortar does absorb moisture. Now, what we've got now is a zinc cap. It's soldered on the edges so water cannot wick in there. And then we left it just a little short right here. This is going to paint up, and the water drip will be from there. The worst case scenario is a little bit drip from there, but it's going to be able to dry out. Now, where the real problem is you know, this sticks out, and because this sticks out of the actual roof area, it catches water, and so water is going to run back around that corner. And so now you can see some of the new wood, the new plywood, 3/4 inch. That never really looks 3/4 of an inch anymore. The new 2x4 is installed here, but if you look down in here, you actually see the zinc. Now, you notice too that it's raised off of that. There's a spacer, a rubber spacer, that the actual fastening screw that holds this up goes through. Now, what that does is allows moisture to not be trapped back here, but to actually run off. And so that's where we are on this. We've got this arch rebuilt with new plywood, the framing reassembled, and now the work really begins to create this arch that goes over and properly folded up, properly folded down over this side, properly up on that side, so it can be properly soldered and not have any areas that could crack and leak. There's just no excuse for that in the roofing business. So I'm going to let him get after it, and then hopefully be able to keep you updated as the project unfolds. And now the final details on this project. As you can see, we've left the zinc cap. That's what we've used, so it will last and last and last. 100 years, probably no problem. I've not been around long enough to really know how that works, but I've seen them that have lasted literally 100 years. You see a few of these out east. In Europe, they use a lot of zinc, a lot of lead, a lot more copper, and things that are lasting than we do here in the States. This is Texas. I think we ought to step up and do the very best we can to create lasting projects. And this little entry door is now set for a lifetime, literally 75 years, 100 years. It's just going to last and last. Now, I wanted to leave it to the zinc color. My architectural design desire just wants me to match it up the way it traditionally would look. We've got the gray in the brick, this mottled look of gray that's up close in the brick. We've got actually this is called a slate color roof, and I'm not sure you can actually see much of it here, but it is a gray that matches perfectly with the zinc that is on the new entry. Now obviously everything else is white to match the existing architecture. This house is about to undergo a complete new painting, so everything will be brought up to date in the next couple of months here, it sounds like. So I wanted to share with you the zinc and the flashing on this. We decided to go with a very traditional drip edge. So the cap is multiple parts. The little flat areas that you see are actually a single piece, and then they have a transition piece that locks to the part that curves up and over. Both of those lock over the drip edge, so there's no place to break. It can expand, it can contract. The drip edge is made in one piece. You can actually see, when you look at it up close, you can actually see the marks of the shrinkers that the guys use to do this. Now I compare this to, you know, hand craftsmanship of a suit, where you can actually tell that it was hand stitched. You can actually tell this was done by hand because of those shrinker marks. It is not, there's not really a way to fabricate this without enormous expense to try to roll form it or anything like that. So the actual drip edge was fabricated here on site with Luis using a stretcher and a shrinker, in this case a shrinker, to make it curl that way. So it is absolutely a wonderful project. It's going to be lasting forever and ever. And I'm going to show you here at the end of this video some kind of up close shots of this so you can see the details. And it's the details that really can make a house look outstanding. In this case, this is the front entry. It is now going to be something that represents this house. So you can actually see it. We've cut away the shrubs that were in front at the first of the video, and haven't taken them out yet completely, but the landscape people will do that. And now you can actually see the entrance of this, and of course at nighttime with the lights on, it's even more beautiful. Again, a very lasting product, and that's what we like to do. When you talk about exteriors, you know, if you don't have an exterior that lasts, you end up with many problems on the inside. Rotting wall, termites, ants, as you saw on this project. A lot of wood ants had gotten in there. Fortunately, there was a barrier. The brick was literally in between the roof and the house. There was no way for the ants to get inside, or they would have been in the walls of the house, creating a problem. This should not have been a shortcut. This is one of the areas that is sticking out. This is very prominent in part of the house. You want to make sure that any area like this, and honestly any area on the outside of your house, is done in a way that is watertight, can breathe, and it's going to last and last and last.